For the first time in American history, the middle class is no longer the largest contributor to the country's aggregate income. This staggering trend has been building over the past 50 years. Despite still comprising the largest group of people, the middle class has been steadily losing ground, surrendering its share of the national wealth to the top 1%. In the last 10 years alone, they have experienced a more substantial loss in purchasing power than they did between 1970 and 1990. This trend is primarily attributed to the escalating cost of living in the United States, which has propelled median home prices from $117,000 in the 70s to nearly $450,000 today. This alarming shift has far-reaching implications for the very fabric of American society, as the middle class, once the backbone of the country, struggles to maintain its economic footing. So what is driving this decline in middle-class citizens? And what are the solutions to this? Since 1971, inflation has been sneakily stealing the purchasing power of middle-class households. Did you know that $1 in 1973 is equivalent to $6.93 in 2023? That's a 600% inflation rate. Think back to the good old days when a dollar could buy you a lot more than a candy bar. Fast forward to today, and you'll notice that everything from cars to healthcare, education to utilities has skyrocketed in price. It's like the cost of living has gone into hyperdrive. But while prices have gone through the roof, incomes have only risen by a mere 66% over the past 5 decades. The traditional American dream of financial security and building wealth through home equity is becoming an elusive dream, even for those considered middle class. Interestingly, the current labor market lacks an adequate number of middle-income jobs to sustain the contemporary middle class, leading many households to rely on multiple jobs to maintain their living standards. A substantial number of individuals may have already fallen out of the middle class without realizing it. The current job market is highly polarized, where individuals must either pursue an expensive college degree for top-tier positions or settle for lower-paying jobs. Having a degree does not guarantee a 6-figure salary, given the prevalence of more available roles at the lower end of the job market. Meanwhile, the Biden administration and mainstream media would have us believe that we are in a period of low unemployment and job growth. They paint a rosy picture of an economy on the upswing, but if you dig deeper, the stark reality contradicts this official narrative. We're seeing a troubling decline in job opportunities, particularly for native-born workers. This discrepancy between what we're told and what we're experiencing casts a shadow of doubt on these official statistics. This disparity isn't helped by the current administration's immigration policies. While it's true that America has always been a melting pot of cultures and nationalities, the current policies seem to ignore the needs of American workers. The job market is flooded with cheap labor, leaving many Americans struggling to compete. An August 2023 survey by American Compass revealed that a majority of American workers lack job security, with only 40% having secured jobs that paid at least $44,000 annually, inclusive of health insurance and paid time off, while also offering predictable earnings and a regular schedule. Despite the historical role of the middle class as an engine of economic growth in the U.S., it currently contributes a smaller share of income than it did from 1960 to 1980. According to Pew Research Center data, the middle class has contracted by 11% since the presidency of Richard Nixon, accounting for less than half of the country's population in 2023. There is a prevailing belief among economists that the official figures may underestimate the true size of the middle class due to ambiguity in its definition. The Department of Labor places the federal poverty level for a family of 4, but for those who earn between $30,000 and $43,372, they are considered as middle class. However, critics argue that categorizing a part-time bartender and a suburban power couple with significantly disparate incomes in the same bracket is peculiar. Then we have the Federal Reserve's take. They consider the middle 50% of all incomes as middle class. Notwithstanding, concerns arise about how this average is calculated, considering extreme income disparities. Even more, some experts reckon the median income should be up to 10 times higher than what the stats are showing. You see, the current definition of the middle class is more about demographics than straight-up buying power. Sure, middle-class families might not be living on the streets, but their financial security is not guaranteed. And get this, The foundation for this group is crumbling faster than you ever think. Think of it, 11 million families who were once part of the middle-class crew since 2020 are no longer included since 2020. However, home values have been soaring higher, leaving some lucky homeowners basking in a glorious equity pool. But this has a major downside. Most young adults have been left out in the cold, completely priced out of the housing market. And speaking of mortgage rates, they have gone through the roof, reaching heights not seen in over 2 decades. For middle-income households, that means they can now only afford homes worth half as much as they could just 3 years ago. According to Fannie Mae's report, the median purchasing power for families has taken a nosedive, plummeting from $356,500 when interest rates were near zero, all the way down to a measly $189,900. While purchasing power has been on a downward spiral, list prices have gone in the opposite direction. Brace yourselves, because according to Redfin economists, a jaw-dropping 45% of markets in 100 major U.S. cities are reporting list prices exceeding $500,000 in 2023. Now, Americans are borrowing more money for homes than ever before, and interest rates are worlds apart from just a few years ago. Overall, the purchasing power of a middle-class homebuyer has been slashed in half since the end of 2020. And if that's not enough, the average mortgage payment on a newly purchased home has skyrocketed from $1,100 3 years ago to a mind-boggling $2,000 a month. According to Lawrence Yun, the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors, entering the market is a downright battle royale for anyone not making a six-figure income. This spells major trouble for young adults who grew up in middle-class households, as they're finding it nearly impossible to maintain their previous living standards as they age due to the inability to invest in real estate. Beyond that, do you know that it's not just the housing market that's causing headaches? The cost of energy, fuel, and groceries have been on a relentless upward climb in recent years. For most middle-income earners, that means minimal disposable income for luxuries like dining out, making major purchases, or taking vacations. And as people tighten their belts and spend less, economic activity slows to a crawl, creating a vicious negative feedback loop that leaves everyone feeling more financially vulnerable than ever. Now, the notion of retirement, once a fundamental aspect of the American dream, is now elusive for more than half of working Americans. According to a September Bankrate survey, the nation's retirement system is showing signs of unraveling. Middle-class individuals aged 55 to 64 have an average of $88,200 in their retirement accounts, falling short of a $530,000 national average to maintain their living standards in retirement. These individuals would require 8 to 11 times more than the current average. Addressing retirement shortfalls may seem straightforward on paper. Saving 5% of income from an early age, working steadily for 4 decades, avoiding financial setbacks, and starting early. However, the reality is much harsher. If individuals begin saving around age 40, they would need to contribute over 26% of their gross income annually until age 67 to achieve an 80% replacement rate in retirement. Starting fresh at age 50 would demand contributing half of their earnings for the remainder of their working years. The current retirement system renders saving nearly impossible for many, making the prospect of retiring with dignity increasingly distant. Moreover, 90% of individuals in the middle class report that their lives have become more expensive, with wages failing to keep pace. Even those in the upper middle class find themselves living paycheck to paycheck, and a significant percentage worry about losing access to loans. So what can we do to stop the middle class meltdown? According to the experts, you can't just keep being a mindless consumer, spending every last penny you've got. No, that's a one-way ticket to financial ruin. Instead, you have to start investing. In this tough climate, saving every last penny at the end of the month is crucial. Whether it's building an emergency fund or squirreling away for retirement, having a reliable financial cushion is a luxury many simply can't afford these days. Now, before you start thinking about how to go about it, you can start small with as little as $1 or $10. The important thing is to educate yourself on the vast array of options out there and then dive right in. So what are your thoughts on this middle class crisis? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you for watching.